Good afternoon, dear students.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, so dear students, today at our lesson we will speak about the intonation of apposition. So let me remind you, dear students, this is the last lesson of ours with you, the last lesson in this semester in phonetics. It is intonation of apposition. At our last lesson, if you can remember, we spoke about the intonation of enumerations, yeah? About the intonation of enumerations. And at that time, I told you that it is distinguished two types of enumeration, finished enumeration and unfinished enumeration. So finished enumeration includes in itself the conjunction and. If you can remember, for example, I bought some milk, bread, butter, and sugar. Yeah, and in such kind of finished enumeration, every unfinished stressed syllable is pronounced with the low rise, low rise, low rise, and the last stressed syllable after the conjunction "and" is pronounced with a low falling nuclear tone. Yeah? I bought some bread, butter, milk, and sugar. I bought some bread, butter, milk, and sugar. Bread, butter, milk is pronounced with a low rise, low rise, low rise, and sugar, the last stressed syllable, is pronounced with a low falling nuclear tone. Yeah? Such kind of enumeration is called finished one. And it is distinguished unfinished enumeration too. What kind of enumeration is it then? So unfinished enumeration doesn't include in itself the conjunction and. Such kind of enumeration where there is no any conjunction and is called unfinished enumeration, and in unfinished enumeration there is no any low fall, only low rise, low rise, low rise, low rise, low rise. There is no any low fall in such kind of unfinished enumeration. That is the intonation of unfinished enumeration. For example, I bought some bread, butter, milk, sugar, like this, because it's unfinished one. There is no any conjunction and. So if there is a conjunction and, it is called finished enumeration, and in finished enumeration, the last stressed syllable is pronounced with the low falling nuclear tone after the conjunction and. That is all about the intonation of enumeration. So why I'm reminding you this one in order to consolidate the learned material at the last lesson. Yeah. So now we have consolidated the learned material, and now we will speak about the intonation of apposition now. First of all, let me give you some examples to apposition. So in apposition, so we give information about the noun which limits the meaning of the noun. Yeah, for example, that's my daughter, the teacher. That's my son, the doctor. That's my son, the doctor. So here, the doctor is limiting information of the noun here. Yeah, the noun is that my son or my daughter is a noun here, and the doctor or the teacher is limiting information about the noun here. Yeah, we are giving some information, but the meaning of the noun is limited somehow. Yeah. And here we should speak about the intonation of such kind of apposition. That's my soul. That's my daughter. That's my daughter, the teacher. That's my daughter, the teacher. That's my son, the doctor. That's my son, the doctor. So here we should speak about the intonation of it. As you can see, I am not making any pause here after my son or my daughter. Yeah, so it means that it doesn't form any separate intonation group here if the apposition doesn't include any additional information about the noun. Yeah, if the meaning of the noun is limited here, so there is only one intonation, one final intonation group here. That's my daughter, the teacher. That's my son, the doctor. One final intonation group here. But if we add another additional information about the noun here, yeah, if the apposition includes in itself an additional information about the noun, it forms a separate intonation group here. For example, that's my daughter, the teacher. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my teacher. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my daughter, the English teacher. The English is an additional information about the noun. or the local is an additional information about the doctor. Yeah, additional information. So that is why this doctor is including in itself an additional information about the noun here. So that is why it is forming a separate intonation group here, non-final separate intonation group here. After my son, for example, that is my son, the local doctor. That is my daughter, the English teacher. Here in the first sentence of mine, in the first example of mine, the local is an additional information about the noun. Yeah. Here the apposition, the doctor, is including in itself an additional information. So that is why it is forming a separate, non-final separate intonation group here. So it appears sequence of tones here, and the sequence of tones in such kind of apposition where there is an additional information about the noun. Here, the low fall plus low fall. That's my daughter, the English teacher. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my son. I'm pronouncing the first non-final separate intonation group with the low falling intonation group. And the second one, the local doctor, is also pronounced with the low fall. It means that low fall plus low fall. And the second one, that's my daughter, the English teacher. Or that's my daughter, the teacher of the English language. Yeah. So here we're giving additional information. The meaning of the noun is not limited. It has an additional information here. So that is why it exists two separate intonation group here. This is the difference between these two types of apposition here. Okay, and now, dear students, if it's understandable to you, now we will do exercises together with you. I will share the exercise and pay attention in the model here. Intonation of apposition here. Yeah, that's my son. That's my son. That's my son, the lawyer. That's my son, the lawyer. Here, son, we're talking about my son. This is a noun, and the word lawyer, is giving meaning, yeah, limited
information.
Yeah, limited, but limited meaning. It's not additional information. It's just limited meaning, yeah. But anyhow, it's giving information about the noun, but limited information, yeah. In the next one, that's my son, the local doctor. That's my son, the local doctor. Here, the word local is an additional information about the noun. It's not, the meaning of the noun is not limited here. We are giving additional information about the noun here. Yeah, so that is why it is forming. So pay attention to this vertical line. This vertical line is a symbol of syntagm. It's a symbol of separate non-final intonation group. That's my son, the local doctor. It means that it is distinguished two intonation groups here. The first one is non-final separate intonation group, yeah, and the second one is final intonation group. That's my son, the local doctor. But the first one, pay attention in the model, that's my son, the lawyer. That's my son, the lawyer. There is only one final intonation group here. It doesn't exist here any non-final separate intonation group. Yeah, it doesn't form here. The position doesn't form any separate intonation group, as it doesn't include any additional information about the noun. The meaning of the noun is limited in the first example. That's my son, the lawyer. Yeah, but in the second one, that's my son, the local doctor. So we are giving additional information about the noun. The meaning of the noun is not limited. So that is why it is forming a separate intonation group here. Yeah? Okay, next one. Then Mr. Nader, the laborer, asked several questions. Then Mr. Zohid Otaboyevich, the dean of the faculty, asked several questions. Yeah? Here, for example, then Mr. Zohid Otaboyevich, the dean of the faculty, is attributive word, yeah, is a noun, and then Mr. Zohid Otaboyevich, yeah, the dean of the office, the dean of the faculty is the additional information about Zohid Otaboyevich, yeah, for example, the dean of the faculty. The dean of the faculty, fakultetimiz dekana. This is additional information about this noun, about Zohar Totoboyevich, yeah? The dean of the faculty asked several questions. Understandable. Here, after the attributive word here, after the noun, it forms separate intonation group, and this word is pronounced with the low rising nuclear tone, not low fall, because the meaning is not limited here, because we are giving an additional information about the noun here, yeah? For example, then Mr. Zohar Totoboyevich, the dean of the faculty, asked several questions. That's my son, the local doctor. Приложение, ограничивающее значение существительного, тесно связано с ним и не выделяется в отдельной синтагму. So now I will give the translation of this rule in English. So apposition, which has limited meaning about the noun and closest to it, and forms separate intonation group. And forms doesn't form, не выделяется, and doesn't form any separate intonation group, yeah, syntagm doesn't form a syntagm here. So because the meaning of the noun is limited here, there is no any additional information about the noun here, yeah. That's my son, that's my daughter, the teacher. That's my daughter, the teacher. So the meaning of the daughter, the meaning of this noun is limited here, but anyhow we are giving information, but the meaning of it is limited here, the teacher, yeah. Приложение выступающее в качестве дополнительной информации в форме ремарки, apposition, which performs as an additional information in the form of remarks, yeah, usually forms separate intonation group, обычно выделяется в отдельный синтагм, usually forms separate intonation group, ударно, stressed, yeah, it is stressed, и произносится тем же тоном, and pronounced with one and same nuclear tone, with one and the same intonation group, with the но на более низком уровне, yeah, with the lower nuclear tone, rather than the attributive word, yeah. Aniqlanayotgan so'zdan biroz pastroq ohangda talaffuz qilinadi. Deyarli bir xil, biroq sal pastroq ohangda talaffuz qilinadi deyapti. Understandable, the rule. I gave the rule of the intonation of apposition in both in Russian and in English languages. Also, first I explained to you in Uzbek language too. So, for example, the next example of mine, Balzac, the famous French writer, was a man of great talent. Balzac, the famous French writer, yeah, Balzac, writer, great talent. We are talking about Balzac here, yeah. Balzac is a noun, main noun, and famous French writer is an additional information. Switch off your microphones, please. Switch off your microphones, please, because there is some noise here. It is interrupting my speech. So Balzac, the famous French writer. So pay attention. Balzac, the famous French writer. Is pronounced with the low rising nuclear tone and is forming separate intonation group here. And the second part is pronounced with the low falling nuclear tone. Was a man of great talent. So here we are talking about Balzac here mainly, and we're giving additional information about the noun. The famous French writer is an additional information. It's an apposition here which has an additional information in the form of remarks here. So that is why we are pronouncing it with the low rising nuclear tone and we are forming separate intonation group here. Understandable? Okay, and that's my son. And now we will read some examples in exercise number 1. Read the following sentences. Pay attention to the intonation. Yeah. So switch on your cameras, all of you, please. Switch on your cameras. Durdona, switch on your microphone. Switch off your microphones. Switch off your microphones and switch on your cameras, please. Do follow my instructions. And let's read the exercise number 1 here. Mark Twain, the famous writer, was traveling in France. Pay attention to the intonation, please. Mark Twain, the famous American writer, So the famous American writer, the famous American is an additional information in the form of remarks here about the noun. Clear? Clear to you or not?
Yes, clear.
Okay.
Understandable.
So any volunteer to read the example? Any
May I?
Please, please. Very good. The same example, please.
The part of Great Britain lying south of the Scottish border. The part of Great Britain then.
Only in English. Only in English, please. Speak only in English.
Low rising is the part of Great Britain. İnternet şuradaki terler.
Continue, please.
And east of Wales in English.
Continue.
Sorry.
So, the part of Great Britain, the part of Great Britain lying south of Scottish border and east of Wales is England. Yeah? All of my family is involved in the farming. All of my family, except for me, is involved in farming. Yeah. Robert Burns, pay attention to this example. It's understandable enough here. Robert Burns, Scotland's bard. Robert Burns. In fact, we're talking about Robert Burns, but Scotland's bard. Yes, Scotland's bard. This is an additional information in the form of remarks here. This is an apposition. And it forms separate intonation group here, and is pronounced with low rising nuclear tones here. Robert Burns, Scotland's bard and Welsh poet, was born in 1759. So, Scotland's bard and Welsh poet is an additional information about the noun here. Understandable? Understandable. I will repeat one and same example once more, please, because this is very clear information to explain this rule. Robert Burns, Scotland's bard and the Welsh poet. Scotland's bard and the Welsh poet was born in 1759. My brother-in-law, Peter Smith, is a teacher. My brother-in-law, Peter Smith, in fact, I'm talking about my brother-in-law, but here I'm giving an additional information in the form of remarks. Peter Smith, Peter Smith is an additional information here about my brother-in-law. So that is why I'm pronouncing it with the low rising nuclear tone, and I'm forming a separate intonation group here. And he's a teacher, the second separate intonation group. The second part is pronounced with the low falling nuclear tone. My brother-in-law, Peter Smith, is a teacher. Yeah? I'm speaking of Caucasus, the capital of Venezuela. And speaking of Caucasus, the capital of Venezuela. That's my son, the local doctor. That's my son, the local doctor. Is that your host, the famous steel magnet? Is that your host, the famous steel magnet? The famous steel magnet? Now this is an additional information in the form of remarks. That's William the Conqueror. That's William the Conqueror. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. Another Englishman, John Bellius, the author of the little guidebook of Moscow, wrote, who would not wish to visit the old capital, Moscow, with its Kremlin and the Golden Dome? Before bills can become acts, they must be approved by both houses of parliament. By both houses of parliament. So, dear students, this is the intonation of apposition. This is the intonation of apposition. Is everything clear to you or not about the intonation of apposition, dear students? Switch on your cameras, everybody. Switch on your cameras. If you have got any questions, with pleasure, I'm ready to answer your questions. I'm waiting for your question. If it is not understandable to you, is it understandable? Is it clearly understandable to you?
Yes, understandable.
Any other
Yes.
questions? So, if you want, you may give your example.
Yes, understandable.
So, if you want, you may give your examples. If you want.
That's my sister, the doctor. That's my sister, the doctor.
That's my sister, the doctor. Or that's my sister-in-law, the doctor. Yeah? That's my sister-in-law, the doctor. Bu meniki noyim, şoker. Yeah? That's my sister-in-law, the doctor. Or that's my sister-in-law, the local doctor. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Any other examples? Any other examples, please? Never be afraid of making mistakes. That's okay to make a mistake, as it is not our mother tongue. To make a mistake, it's okay, because we learn only with the help of mistakes. So that is why feel free, feel confident, and ask questions or give examples. Any examples?
Yes.
Please.
That's my aunt, the interpreter.
Very good. That's my aunt, the interpreter.
The interpreter.
Okay, now add additional information here about the interpreter, please. Can you add? For example, that's my aunt, the professional interpreter. The professional interpreter. That's my aunt, the professional interpreter. Yeah?
Professional
That's
interpreter.
my aunt, the guide. That's my aunt, the professional guide. Yeah? Or that's my aunt, the local guide. Yeah? That's my aunt, the guide. That's my aunt, the local guide. Like this. It's not difficult. Okay? Any other examples? No, any examples? So, dear students, this was our last lesson in this semester. If you haven't got any questions to me, so let me announce that this is the end of our lesson, and I have to say goodbye to everybody. So good luck to you, good luck to all of you in your final exam. I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Success.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Thank you for your attention to goodbye. Yes,
Goodbye. Thank you for your lesson.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
you are welcome.
Thank you, teacher.